Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thales Peterson. I am the host of the 1% Club podcast. And today I am joined by my friend Augusto, that has coached college for a very long time now. He has experience as a head coach, as assistant coach at every single level. And he is someone that we were just talking before, and it's a major point in his career, in his life in general, where he is going to have more time actually in the USA than in Brazil, where he comes from. So that goes to show that success does not happen overnight. It is a long process, is a daily process of improving, getting better, learning, figuring it out, different ways, different things. So he is going to share with us a lot of his experience as a player, as a coach, his transition from player to coach. We actually met in California when he was in the transition of being a player to being a coach. And one thing, Augusto, I don't even know if you remember this or not, but he was working at the soccer complex that my old club, FC Golden State, we had our games. And there was one day that I showed up and he was already setting up the tents, he was already helping us out. And I was like, well, he's not responsible for doing that. So that always stuck to me, that you were someone that you were willing to do more than it was asked of you. So every time I see your post and I see you on social media and you go from one place to the next place, it's no surprise to me that you are very, very successful in what you do just by that simple trait that I remember. And I was like, wow, that guy has something that most people don't have. So I would love to get to know more of your journey. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story. So a pleasure having you here, brother.
Thanks, Thales. No, it's been a while. We've obviously known each other for a while. You saw me at my start of my professional career, and we've remained in touch since. So appreciate the kind words. I've seen some of the guys that have been here on the podcast, some big timers, some guys with great backgrounds, great banter as well. I'm gonna try to live up to the expectations, but hopefully I can share a little bit of my story and some insight for some of the people that are gonna be able to listen.
Absolutely. So, Augusto, the two main things that we talk about, and also for everybody listening in, tuning in, watching, is we talk about two main things. One is success doesn't happen overnight, and whatever you call success, it is a process. It takes time, it takes very long time to achieve whatever we call success. And the other thing that we talk about, it's not a matter of avoiding problems, difficulties, hardships, failure, setbacks. It's a matter of learning how to deal with them. So we are coaches, so we deal with that pretty much on a daily basis, not only for our own lives, but the lives of our players, our staff, and everybody that we come in touch with. So those are the two main things that we talk about here in the podcast. And the idea is to give insights and to share the story from someone that has been in another country for a very long time and someone that has been very successful in different divisions of the college game in the US. And it's someone that surely will give us a lot of good and positive insights on what it takes to get to the next level. Because unfortunately, nowadays, most people think, oh, yeah, but coach, I worked hard. Oh, yes, you worked hard for maybe a few days, a few weeks. So it takes a very long time. So let's start from the beginning, Augusto. Where'd you grow up? How'd you start playing soccer? How did you first get involved? Where are you from in Brazil? Take us through your first initial steps.
Yeah. Yeah, so grew up in a city called Campinas in Brazil, just outside of São Paulo. The way I compare Campinas to the people that don't know, it's a big city. It's kind of overshadowed by the fact that it's so close to São Paulo. I would compare it to Liverpool, right? You have two very traditional clubs, two clubs with very fierce rivalry and history. Uh, Unfortunately, both clubs in my hometown are not doing as well as Everton and Liverpool. Uh,
Yeah.
but if you are born in Campinas, you are either a Guarani fan or a Ponte Preta fan. I grew up a Guarani fan by birth. I kind of had no choice. My father's always been a big fan, got involved with the club on the management side of things, which kind of opened some doors for me as well. Once I got more serious about soccer. I think at a young age I was someone that kind of did a lot of different things. I swam, I did equestrian, I
Oh, wow.
um, played soccer, obviously. And then I think there was a point in my life where soccer kind of became the main passion, and I would say, um, like growing up, going to the stadium, watching Guarani go through um, ups and downs. I mean, Guarani right now, for those that don't know, is in the third division of the Brazilian national level. So again, both clubs in my hometown have struggled in recent years. Um, but just to be able to see the passion, to be able to see, again, the opportunities that I think my dad's relationship with the club opened doors for me to be able to witness that what was happening on the inside and on a daily basis, kind of really sparked that passion that was already in me.
Yeah.
And then, an opportunity popped up to come to the US to continue to play. I think there was a time in my life, I was around like 14 years old, where I wanted to make soccer more serious than it was.
Yeah.
The reality was, growing up, I wasn't good enough to be involved at the very highest level in Brazil. And Brazilian level is very very cutthroat. If you're gonna pursue soccer, you're gonna kind of put everything aside, and that's what you're gonna pursue. And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
at home growing up, that was never an option for me. So there was that side of my parents, and also the side of my lack of quality. But I wanted to make more out of soccer, and so I think the US kind of really sparked that interest in me, and it was an opportunity to kind of present to my parents, hey, here's a chance to continue to focus on my studies while also making soccer a little bit more serious, which
Wow.
was for me the thing I was most interested in doing. So ended up at a boarding school in middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Had a great 2 years there. Um, then just kind of happened to stumble upon Susquehanna University, which is where I played Division III. Also had a great time there. Um, but yeah, I think I always kind of attribute my passion, my initial kind of falling in love with the sport, to like my hometown and
Yeah. Yeah.
my club and going to the stadium. I think not everyone gets to be fortunate to be born in a culture that's so rich with that soccer
Yeah.
piece. And that was something that I got to kind of witness really firsthand, the ins and outs and ups and downs, and a lot more downs than ups in our reality, which I think maybe helped me, through my career as well, of the persistence, the will to keep going even when things
Absolutely. The
are not
resilience.
going
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
way. So yeah.
So, Augusto, growing up, You said that your dad was involved with the club and you got to witness firsthand. How would you compare that kind of culture that we grew up in a culture that it's normal for us to have soccer on TV all the time. We watch games every week, not just every week, but at least 2 times a week on Wednesdays and Sundays. So we watch it on TV. There's the banter where you talk to your friends. You were a Guarani fan. Whoever is a Ponte Preta fan, like at school, hey, your team lost last night, or that always happens. So it's part of who we are. So we grow up watching and participating and playing. And what would you say is the main difference from that culture that you said you were born in, and the American kids, or different cultures, different places? How would you compare that for someone that doesn't fully understand, that doesn't come from that kind of culture?
Yeah, I think the main difference really for me at least it's the competitiveness that's driven from the passion. Because like if you go play any type of soccer game in Brazil, whether you're playing the final or you're playing a pickup with your friends, it's probably gonna get heated,
Oh
right? But
yes.
that's just cultural, and you have this ability that, if you're having a barbecue with your friends and one of your friends happen to have a soccer field out in his backyard, and then you guys are gonna play, you are all gonna give your all 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and you're gonna talk trash to each other, but then you're gonna step out, you're gonna have a beer together, you're gonna have, the barbecue, and you're gonna be able to keep that separate. So I think that um, the game of soccer is very like all or nothing in Brazil, and I think it is derived from the element of, soccer for a lot of people in Brazil is a pathway to improving their lives and improving their
Mhm.
families' lives. And for some kids, it's all they have, right? So again, like going back to my involvement with Guarani, once I've kind of made the decision to come to the US, obviously summers in the US are pretty long when you're in school, both when I was at the boarding school as well as when I was in college. So I used to go back home. In my first couple of years, I used to play with, the youth academy, used to play with the U20 team. And, at that
Yeah.
level, it's like everyone is trying to make it. And the intensity in which everything is done at was so, so high because in the
Mhm.
training session, that's, everyone's opportunity to make it. And
Yeah.
even though those guys are part of a team, they're all kind of competing for maybe that one spot to make it to the pro team and sign the contract and change their lives. So
So
it's
the
very
training
much
session is really it's a battle.
it is
They
like
have to
it's
prove
it's a
themselves
it's a
on a
war
daily
field. and
basis.
um and then and in my last couple of years in college, I actually got to kind of train over the summer with the pro team. And that was, very, very similar. But now you're dealing with egos, you're dealing with guys that, I used to kind of be the guy that used to stay and go and stay after with Fumagalli, who would hit free kicks and score every other one, and I would
Yeah.
dive and try to save. And it's like, but you have those guys, and then you have guys that are just kind of getting started, and to be able to kind of be in that environment and witness the intensity in which things are done, and that's people's livelihood at the end of the day. I think that's
Absolutely.
kind of the main difference. But there's also the side that's like that drives the culture in like every soccer game that happens in the country, right?
Mhm.
Because not every soccer game is do or die, but Brazilians kind of enter the field in which they're playing, regardless of what the situation is, with that mentality that, this is their final. Um, which I think, like there isn't much of that here in the US in terms of the development structure, in terms of like the youth soccer structure. It's very organized. It's very a lot of people say it's development focused. You can we can have a conversation about that for days.
We'll get that later.
But it's mom drives you to training, you go back, and then your spot's still there as long as you're able to pay the tuition for the club. So um that there isn't much that you have to fight for in all reality, as
Hmm.
far as like this is it, this is all you have, because there's a
That's
plan
your
B, there's a
chance
plan C, there's a plan D. So I think that's the difference, and some of it is real, and it's all people have, and some of it is kind of trickle down from that intense
from
like
the
top
top.
level reality.
Yeah.
uh, but I think it kind of drives the culture around the sport
And
everywhere you
how
go.
about when, at a very young age, only 15, you were presented with the opportunity to come to the US to a boarding school? What was the conversation like with the family, with mom, with dad? I'm going, I'm gonna be by myself. I am willing to, like in the middle of nowhere, you said in Pennsylvania, is, like a guy that comes from Campinas is, the weather is very, very different for sure than Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
especially in the wintertime, even though, you go back home on the holidays and stuff. But what was the decision-making process like? Okay, I feel like I'm ready to go, even though I'm only 15. Your parents say, all right, good luck, see you later. How was that part?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's funny because I mean nowadays you have like all different types of agencies that help kids go through that process and come to the US. There's a lot more knowledge with the internet and whatnot. Um, and I kind of did the process on my own. There was a common connection at the school that I attended in Brazil with the boarding school. Um,
Okay.
it was like the college counselors at both schools. I went to an American school, so there was a little bit of, I guess, the introduction to
Hmm.
the
The
system
exposure to,
and
yeah.
the language. So like that helped my transition a lot, I would say. Um, I wouldn't say I was 100% fluent. I think my English is a lot better now than when I first got here. Um, but it was, essentially the opportunity to combine a higher level of commitment to soccer, which is what I
Okay.
wanted and what I was failing to get in my current situation at the time in Brazil, with a very good academic experience. Um, Mercersburg Academy is the place that I went to, and it's an awesome, awesome place. There's an element of luck as well because I didn't visit the school. I really kind of went in blankly, like, let's go. The original plan, to be honest, was like, hey, go for a year, kind of like an exchange experience, see what
See how it
happens.
is.
And then my mom said this, like, I remember like the day that I was leaving home, she's like, like you could be going forever. Like you could be going like this could be like it. And I was like, sure, yeah, like 15 years old at the time, like not really
Yeah,
processing.
right.
And now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, like yeah, like I left that day at 15 and I'm still here in the US, and my family still are all in Brazil, mom, dad, siblings. Um, but there was an element of luck that I kind of didn't have the full picture of what I was getting into, and then ended up at this really cool place that had great people. So I feel like very lucky that was the case, and yeah, but I think the main topic of the conversation, and that gave my family the comfort, as well as me the excitement to kind of say let's do this, was the ability to combine academics with soccer. And yeah, I mean it was a pretty cool experience. I met a lot of really great people like from all over the world, um,
So
that came
amazing.
for many reasons to Mercersburg, and um, it was just I still have like some of my best friends were guys that I played with at the boarding school. So
In high school. Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, as part of my mentorship program, I teach people a concept that I call the ABC. Basically, is the action before change. And the second variation to that is you act with bravery and courage. It's not a lack of fear, is acting, even though there is a little fear, there's a little uncertainty. So, props to you, to your parents, and to everyone that you say you got a little lucky. I would have to disagree with the luck because the first step is the hardest, putting in action something. A lot of times I feel like people freeze because they want to wait for the perfect conditions. Oh, this opportunity, maybe it's not right because of X, Y, and Z, and a lot of things that go on in our mind that stops us from going, from taking that initial step. So, a 15-year-old, of course, you don't have it all figured out. Of course, you have fears. Of course, your mom says, "Oh, you might be going forever." And you say, "Oh, yeah, right. Like, I'll be back in a year." And you're still here. So, what advice would you give to someone that might be in that phase where I want to do it, but there's something still holding me back, whether it's a career change, whether it's moving to a different country, moving to another team, finding a new job, or whatever else may be, where they're not sure if they act or if they still hold and wait for the perfect opportunity. So, is there such thing as a perfect opportunity, or what advice would you give someone?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a perfect opportunity goes, I don't think there is, right? There's always pros and cons to everything that you do. Every choice that you make is giving up something else. Um, I think if, the rationale behind a decision, if there's something that excites you, um, that forces you to change, but excites you, and the reason that's holding you back is comfort, then get get rid of that. Go chase this new thing. Because I mean, comfort is something that prevents you from growing, prevents you from expanding your horizons, in all aspects of life. So um, I think my advice would be if the rationale behind staying in your current situation is comfort, then you're probably going about this decision making process the wrong way.
And this is from someone, guys, that we'll get into it, but it's someone that has moved around the country a few times, has been in quite a few different places, and it's someone that has been successful everywhere he goes. So, make sure you take that advice and you follow through with whatever you guys are planning on doing or whatever might be stopping you. So put in the first step. To me, is you're not going to have it all figured out when you start, but it's very, very important to start so you can then figure it out. And Augusto, so now you are graduating from high school. You start, I apologize. I don't think I'll be able to say the name correctly. Susquehanna, or however you say
Susquehanna,
it.
yeah.
How do you get recruited to play there? How's the first the initial contact? How is it going now to the next level, to playing in college?
Yeah, so essentially what sparked my introduction to Susquehanna and my recruiting process was again a common connection between my high school coach and my college coach. Um, and I think that that's something that like I've learned in my life. You know, if you're a good person, if you do your best everywhere you are, opportunities will find you.
And
So, you
that's
know,
not luck, my friend.
the
That is
world the
luck.
world is a small place at the end of the day, you know. So um, if you're good to people, if you create a network of people that can vouch for you and that want to help you, then you know that's ultimately the best thing that you can do. And that's kind of how I ended up at Susquehanna. It was a common connection. My high school coach knew Coach Findlay at Susquehanna. They had a phone call and it was like, "Hey, we're looking for a goalie. I have a goalie." Um, and then I went on a visit, and it's like, okay, this is a pretty cool place. I knew I wanted to stay in sort of that area of the country at the time. And it ended up working out pretty well in the long run. I would say had a lot of learning moments in my time in college. I think you know, I attribute a lot of my kind of coaching philosophy and ability to help different types of players that I work with now to my playing days, because I went from a guy in my first year that didn't play a single minute to the player in my last year that played every single minute, was the captain for the team. So kind of had to, you know, like earn
Earn your
my
stripes.
keep, and had to work really hard for it. And that's always been kind of the motto for life for me. You know, I don't feel like I have this God-given talent in anything, or don't have anything that, you know, makes me better than anyone else. It's just a matter of like having a lot of pride in what I do, giving my everything in everything that I do, and that was something that I was able to do in my playing career, and have been able to kind of do that in my coaching career as well. Hard
Augusto,
work pays off, I guess.
something very extraordinary that you said is the connections is it's part of it, but then the second part is if you have someone that can vouch for you. So the relationship between the high school coach and the college coach, as a coach yourself now, what would you tell the players that are watching us when you say if you continue to do the right thing, if you continue to put in the work, even though you may not be playing, even though you may be having limited playing time, but you're still being a good teammate, you're still being a good person, you're still showing up, you're still trying your hardest, because at the end of the day, we as coaches, we know you're only going to put your name on the line for someone that you trust, someone that you know when they show up to the training session, they're going to represent you. They are going to represent what you spoke on their behalf. So when you say, "Oh, if you do the right things, more opportunities will open up." So what would you tell the players that are either in high school that want to go to college, or the college players that are not playing as much, and your own history where you went from not playing a single minute to now becoming the captain. That is exactly what I love talking about. Is for everyone watching, guys, this is a story from someone that you come in as a freshman, you don't play a single minute, and then 3 years later, you become the captain, you play every single minute. So it's not like, oh, I'm not playing, screw this, I'm going to transfer, I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's part of the immediate culture that we have nowadays. So, what would you tell the players what does doing the right thing and having that type of relationship and someone that can vouch for you, what would you say?
Yeah, I think, I mean, first of all, you gotta kind of trust the process. You said it best. I think that that immediate reward kind of society that we live in today makes it hard to sort of preach that because things come easy. You want a meal you can order on your phone. You want a pair of boots you can order it on your phone. Um, but for you to actually be able to maximize yourself as a human being, whether it's athletically, personally, or professionally, you have to kind of spend time to work on your craft and work on expanding your strengths and bettering your weaknesses. Um, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I think the one thing that always helped me was kind of having a perception of both the short-term benefits as
Mm-hmm.
well as the long-term benefits, right? So my freshman year in college, that was like best season in program history. We made the Sweet 16 at the time. We had an unbelievable team, like guys that I'm still in touch with, and um, but again, didn't play a single minute, but I worked really hard on an everyday basis in training. And to me, that was how I could contribute to that group, right? If I'm pushing the guy that's playing by being the best that I can be on an everyday basis instead of being pissed off and kind of going 50% because I'm not playing, then I'm not helping the team. And that was something that
You're
for
still
me,
making the team better. Absolutely.
right? And that kind of kept me motivated. And obviously, everyone wants to be the guy that plays, wants to be the guy for your team, but there's so many more important roles that aren't that glamorous role that are just important as that glamorous role
And are necessary.
that are so necessary for any successful team. Um, I mean, my end goal was always to play. My end goal was always to contribute, but that was kind of what kept me on track to eventually become the guy that started and played. Um, because sometimes it takes time, and I think at the end of the day, like worst case scenario, if you know you've given your all, then you can walk away from a situation with your head held high, right? Even if
Absolutely.
you failed to accomplish your ultimate goals, and if you're setting high enough goals, if you're ambitious and competitive, then you're probably gonna fail to achieve most of those goals, right? But if you give your all towards achieving those goals, I think you can walk away from a situation with your head held high. And I look back to again like my freshman year in college, didn't play a single minute. The season was over, and it's like, man, like I wish I would have played, but I know I gave my all here in my current situation. So felt like I was able to walk away from a situation that I didn't necessarily draw it that way before walking into it, but that's how it kind of shaped up to be. But still was able to kind of give my all and contribute in a certain way.
Beautifully said. And to your point, to what you said, it's something that I talk about all the time too, is controlling the controllables. It's what you can do. If you really you try your best, that's up to you. If the coach decides to play you or not play you, it's not really up to your ego. It's based on what the coach thinks it's best for the team. So you're still making the team better. You're still putting in the effort. You're still training. You're still pushing. If you are, let's say, you're the second keeper, you want to push the first keeper to be his best version as well, instead of it's all about me. I'm not playing, so I'm not going to give my all. And we see that unfortunately a whole lot where I struggled with that myself in my playing days when I wasn't playing much. I was struggling. I was facing difficulties and hardships instead of learning from them. I played soccer and tennis growing up. So soccer got tough. Oh, let me go play tennis. Tennis got tough. Oh, let's go play soccer. So instead of facing that head on, it is what it is. I'm a freshman. I may not be playing much, but it's a phase. It
Yeah.
will pass. It will go through. So what kind of tools, what kind of techniques did you use in order to keep yourself motivated, to keep showing up, to keep trying your best, to keep on keeping on, even though you were not playing, you weren't seeing the field?
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, like keeping a kind of a thought on sort of the short term benefits of that was something that helped me. And at the end of the day, like in the sport and in athletics as a whole, you never know when your opportunity is gonna come, right? So
Gotta be ready.
if you're going 50% and then all of a sudden that opportunity comes and you're not ready for it, now you don't know when that's gonna come again, and you've failed to maximize that opportunity. Um, so that was always something that kind of I think motivated me. It's like, yeah, I'm not playing right now, but who knows what can happen. Um, especially as a goalkeeper when things are going well, typically, there's a starter and he plays the whole season. But it was a matter of being prepared for my opportunity in the short term, as well as continuously getting better and improving myself in the long term. So having both of those perspectives, while also kind of being happy and celebrating the wins that we had as a team, um, and supporting the player that at the time was playing ahead of me. By the way, we're still great friends to this day. He was one of the best. I mean, he's got a bunch of records at Susquehanna as a goalkeeper. Still lives in Selinsgrove, Grove, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
We were actually roommates when I started coaching. When I went back to Susquehanna and started my coaching career. So I mean that goes to show like how close of a relationship we kind of developed through those years of essentially him being better than I was, and me trying to chase him as a starter. So
Before we move on to how we actually met and how you were in California, I want to speak about something particular about goalkeepers because I see that a lot. And that's a very special relationship that I feel like goalkeepers have with each other because a lot of the time they're training just themselves plus the goalkeeper coach, and they're doing something different than the rest of the team. So they might show up a little bit earlier, they might have to stay a little bit later. So it's a relationship that to me it's very very important because you are cheering the other guy on, and the guy is playing ahead of you. So you have to have a strong mindset in the sense of, even though I'm not playing, but I want him to succeed. I don't want him to fail. He's my friend. He becomes my, like one of my best friends. So it's that type of relationship where, man, I'm celebrating someone else's success, but truly from my heart. It's not the fake like, oh, good for you. Then you turn around and you go like, oh, screw you, because we see that a whole lot. when someone else isn't playing, it's like, oh, I hope he messes up. I hope I can play ahead of him. And goalkeepers specifically, even like in the World Cup and things like that, the goalkeepers, they want to be roommates. So the first and the second goalkeeper, they are roommates. They have a really close relationship. And, like even going back to, I don't know who you like in Brazil, but my dad is a big Palmeiras fan. So Marcos and Sergio playing for Palmeiras, and they had a really close relationship. So how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's first of all, it takes a different type of personality to be a goalkeeper. People say goalkeepers are crazy, but from that team standpoint, I think essentially as a goalkeeper, you're the last line of defense. When you make a mistake, it costs the team greatly. So there is a big responsibility and pressure in playing that position, and I think that's why the people that play it are so passionate about it. But I think that adds to that relationship piece that you're talking about too between goalkeepers on the same team, in that if you are cheering against the guy that's playing ahead of you, you are cheering against your team because of that position and the nature of the
Consequently, against
position.
yourself.
Right. Like if a forward misses the goal, it's at the end of the day not as bad as if a goalkeeper makes a mistake and it leads to a goal. Right. So I think that's where, that relationship piece that exists between goalkeepers at the end of the day in the best teams, right? If you mentioned the Palmeiras relationship was one that, when Palmeiras had a really good squad and there was a really good group of goalkeepers. And that's a trend that you see pretty often, especially at the highest level. The best teams, they don't only have a great goalkeeper that's playing, they have a great group of goalkeepers. Um, and even like you think of Man City, you think of Carson that's been there for years, and there's people that even kind of make fun of the situation, but it's like only the people that are in that environment knows how much that guy actually brings to the table and adds to their culture and their togetherness and their environment on an everyday basis. So I think that element of the mistake and the importance of the goalkeeper position for the team is why like it becomes harder for there to be that toxic type of rivalry within at least cultures that are in a good spot.
Augusto, how did you end up in California? How did we meet in
I
California? What were
know,
you doing there?
I know. One of my many adventures. So yeah, I mean, after college, I was looking for a job. Essentially, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have this kind of goal growing up. Oh, I want to be a coach, and I'm gonna kind of plan my life to be a coach. And
Yeah.
I even like remember during my time in California, obviously I was around the game a lot, like working at the complex. It was more like on the managerial organizational side of things, and but it used to interact with a lot of coaches like yourself, and there was a lot of people that's like, hey, you ever think about being a coach? And at the time it was like, no, not really. And now here I am, it's like couldn't see myself doing anything different. But again, going to that connection piece and the network piece, it was Breno that kind of opened that door. Breno, my great friend Breno, who I met at Mercersburg, so
Okay.
keep the connection going. Still one of my best friends to this day. Brazilian, also played soccer with him at boarding school. We didn't know each other until boarding school, so even though we lived about an hour away in Brazil from each other, we didn't actually get to know each other until we ended up in,
Wow.
in rural Pennsylvania. And then
Yeah.
Breno had worked with the company that we worked for out in California already. And then after he graduated college from a different university, he started working for that company, and they were looking for someone else, and it was like, hey, I know someone else that's looking for a job, and that's kind of how it all got to got to work out. It was just more out of that connection that I had with Breno.
Yeah.
Right time, right place, I guess. Right
That
connection.
is awesome. That's it's crazy how everything is so perfectly connected when we talk about the past and how it all happened. It's just like one dot leads to the next and to the next. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Breno thought enough of me to like recommend me for the position. We talked about just kind of making a name for yourself, right? If we had a bad experience together at the boarding school that we were at, then he wouldn't have recommended me for that position. So, I mean, I
Absolutely.
think that's a piece of advice too from that I've learned like throughout my life is that you never know who can help you in the future. You never know who's watching you or who's taking note of the things that you're doing. So if you're always a good person, if you're always doing the best that you can do, then you don't have to worry about putting on this show or being this nice person when the time is convenient or when you think people are watching. So um yeah, just kind of tying it
And
back to
one
that
very
point.
important thing to exactly what you're saying is that the harvest doesn't come the same day that you plant a seed. So you are planting all kinds of different seeds. So when you know the difference between right and wrong, when you're being a good person, when you're helping others, when you are always to what you said again, try your hardest, whatever your hardest may be. Do something that is under your control. Be someone that others can look up to. So that's how you have gone throughout your path. And other people say, yes, like I know this guy that I'll promise you that he is who I say he is because I trust him. And that's something that nowadays people, I feel like they're very superficial, so they act a certain way where deep inside it may not be who they are. So we can read through the BS, especially us that have been in the game for a while. So that goes again to what I say. It's not a matter of doing it a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months. It's time and time again. When you plant a seed, for that seed to become a plant, a tree, or whatever it is, you need to water it. And you don't just water every now and then. You have to water basically on a daily basis. And the art of watering as well. If you put too much water, it dies. If you don't put enough water, it also dies. In the heat, you need more water. In the winter, you need less water. So you gotta, you gotta figure stuff out.
Find that balance. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You gotta find that balance. So whoever is listening, whoever is watching, be a good guy. Be a good person. Know what you are doing. If it's right, great. If it's wrong, and you're still doing, then that's on you. That is on you. So, Augusto, how do you move back now? How do you start coaching? What was that spark that said, you know what? I might try this out. I might become a coach. This is something I'm sparking some interest in me now.
Yeah. So I mean, after my year in California, I was moving back to the East Coast, and was looking for a job in the East Coast. Didn't really have too much lined up. Gave my head coach or my former college head coach Jim Finley a call at the time and said, "Hey, I know you have a lot of players that played for you, who work in the business world. That's what I graduated, and that's what I majored in college, and so that's kind of the route that I was thinking I wanted to get into. Um, and then he actually got me a job. He got me a sales job in Washington D.C. But then
What kind of sales?
he was like it was like a bus company that does like all
Okay.
sorts of like sports teams, and
Yeah.
so it was like selling like their service essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he also had just lost his assistant at the time at Susquehanna,
Oh,
who
what
was
a
a guy,
coincidence.
yeah, who was a guy that I played with. He was my captain when I was a freshman. Still, this guy and I still remain very, very close. He coaches at the college level as well, but he was just leaving for another opportunity. And Jim was like, "Hey, why don't you come and help me with preseason? I don't have anybody right now. You've been playing out in California still. You're just a year off, like." And I was like, "Sure, that sounds fun." I've been like looking
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
job like all summer. Kind of stressful period where it's like you're in this limbo, like what am I gonna do next? Um, and then during preseason, it was like, man, like this is cool, like this is fun.
I like it.
Um, and it was just like halfway through preseason, he was like, "So, like, what you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, I want to like stay here." And he's like,
You
"Okay."
took you took the bait.
And he was like, "Okay, fine." Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was actually like I was like transitioning from my student visa to a green card at the time. So my first 6 months there at Susquehanna, and again, going back to like not everything is as glamorous as it sounds, right? There's hardships, and but I was living at Jim's house for my first semester as a coach, essentially volunteering for that first semester, up until I was able to kind of transition into a visa that
Yeah.
allowed me to work, and go into that position. Um, but again, I told like I said earlier, I never had this goal of, yeah, I want to be a coach, and then I got into it and it was like, man, I couldn't see myself doing anything differently. I think especially at the college level, like I enjoy so much working at the college level where at the end of the day, like the least that we do is soccer. There's such a holistic approach to the way that we think about and go about, the overall experience for the student athletes, as well as how we help them develop as obviously soccer players, but even more importantly as human beings.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that I think like kind of keeps me really motivated in my role, knowing that, it's the lessons at the end of the day, the lessons that you learn on the field that you kind of take
For
into
life.
into life. And that's, really kind of rewarding to witness, like especially now that I've been, there's guys now that I've coached that are like successful professionals, and that just it feels weird because I've been in it for a little bit. I'm not that old, but now it's like, man, like you're a lawyer now. Like what? You used to be a whiny little player, like It's like,
Look at you now.
yeah. So I think that's like super rewarding part of like coaching specifically at the college level.
That's amazing. And how long were you there as his assistant for?
Yeah, I was there for 2 seasons. Two
Okay.
seasons at Susquehanna, and then went to Bucknell Division 1 just down the road. And again, like the connection piece, there was a position opening up. The coach at Bucknell, I had worked some camps, there. He also knew Jim from Susquehanna. So and that's kind of what sparked that move into my first Division One assistant role at Bucknell.
Wow. What was the main difference, would you say, from D3 going to D1?
I think as far as the experience for the student athletes, you get to work with your coach a little bit more. The fall season in our reality is very similar.
Okay.
Um, the spring season is a little bit different. At the Division One level, we can work with the student athletes a little bit more than at the Division One level. We can work more than at the Division 3 level. So I would say, at the end of the day, that's the main difference from an experience standpoint for student athletes. Obviously, the best teams in the country are Division 1 teams, but the top teams in Division 3 are all very good and would be just fine competing within the Division 1 level.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I say, like when I talk to prospects and kids that are looking to play in college, like there are a lot of players that really focus on, oh, I want to play Division 1 or I want to play Division 2 or whatever. Like that shouldn't be the main driver of your decision. You got to think about each place individually and you got to think
Mhm.
about the fit to what you're looking for and what you care about and what's important to you. So um I've worked at different Division 3 institutions as well, and like those experiences are different from one another, and Clarkson is different than Susquehanna, and it's different than the University of Rochester. Those are all Division 3 institutions, just like Holy Cross is different than Northeastern and different than Bucknell. Um, all places that I've worked at. So um, I would say from like a work standpoint, like at the Division 1 level, you have some more like paperwork, I guess you could say, that you gotta do more, like you gotta log more of what you're doing. There's
Mhm.
more sort of rules from an NCAA compliance standpoint that you need to follow and need to kind of keep track of what you're doing from that standpoint. Um, but yeah, that's I would say the main
The
differences, I
main thing.
guess.
And how does the first head coaching job comes around?
Yeah, so I mean that was after a couple of stints in a few different places. So I went Susquehanna, which is where I played. So I think that, first 2 years was in some ways easy in that, like that's all I knew at the college level.
Yeah.
I felt very comfortable at the time to challenge the head coach because I had an emotional connection to that program. I had been a player there. Um,
That
and
was
challenge,
like home. Yeah.
yeah. So we had a great like previously existing relationship, and then Bucknell was kind of the first time where like, okay, this is a job now because um not that it felt like a job, but this is like, I don't necessarily have a connection to this place. Like this is just me in my coaching role, like looking to become the best that you can be. And I worked for a guy named Brendan Nash at the time who had been there for, I want to say he was there for like 25 years,
Wow.
and had really kind of started the program from not very good, had won a lot of, he kind of built the program up in a lot of different ways from a success standpoint on the field, but also from um, like an alumni support standpoint, from just an overall culture standpoint.
Like the
Um,
whole program. Yeah.
yeah, so like to be able to work for two guys, Jim was the same at Susquehanna. He's been there, he's still the head coach there. Um, I want to say for 30 years now, or close to that. So like to be able to see, those guys that have been able to kind of build programs, and that was the same. So from Bucknell, I spent 2 years there. Um, Learned a lot, kind of had a fresher perspective on what, college coaching is, my introduction to Division One, my introduction to a place that I didn't know as
Yeah.
much about as I did at Susquehanna. Um, did a lot with like goalkeepers at the time at Bucknell. Um, Part of me wanted to branch out and kind of do more than just goalkeeper. So that's where the University of Rochester opportunity came about, to be an assistant there, and we had
Yeah.
the other assistant at the time was also a goalkeeper guy, so I was able to coach more of the field players and sort of take a sabbatical from
From the
coaching
goalkeepers.
goalkeepers, which was really good, and also worked with a guy. So I did three head coaches in a row that had been at their respective schools for 20 plus years. So guys with, great alumni relationships, great history of winning, um, guys that kind of instilled really strong, rich cultures and histories at the programs that they were at. Um,
That's such an amazing experience.
so and I feel like I learned a little bit of, everyone's different, every head coach is different. So to be able to work for different guys and pull different things from different head coaches in their own way and kind of build my own style at the time was
Yeah.
something that I am very thankful for. I say like my experiences were all not very long, right? I've kind of moved after 2 year stint is my longest stint. I did 2 years at Susquehanna, 2 years at Bucknell, 1 year at Rochester. Uh, they were all short but very intense, both in terms of the work that I put in, as well
Hmm.
as what I got out of each individual experience from a learning standpoint. My year at Rochester was one that I think really flipped for me, like the confidence in myself,
Hmm.
because Chris Apple, the coach at the time there, allowed me to do a lot, um, allowed me to like make a lot of mistakes, and he was a U.S.
He let you fly.
Yeah, US Federation instructor at the time. So, I say like the experience there was like a year-round US soccer like course. Everything that I did, I got feedback on
Amazing.
whether I
Yeah.
wanted to get it or not. But we had like such a good relationship in that like he was such an intense guy, so professional, so organized, such a great like mentor and like cared so much about being a good mentor. And I was so hungry to grow and to improve that, like that was such a beneficial year for me in that confidence that like, okay, like I can actually do this. I'm a pretty decent coach. And then the opportunity to move to Northeastern came about, after a year. So I did a year at Rochester, and the Northeastern one was interesting because I had done 3 years, or I had done three stints at three different places with coaches that had been at their schools for a really
For a
long
very long
time.
time.
And Rich, who was the coach at Northeastern at the time, is now the head coach at the University of New Hampshire. He had just gotten to Northeastern. So it was kind of like it was his first stop as a head coach as well. He had been, an assistant for a while at New Hampshire, had won a lot, had done great, during his time as an assistant there, but that was kind of his first opportunity as a head coach. So that perspective was so different, and to be able to get that perspective and to be able to see how Rich kind of transitioned, and in our reality, like his transition to Northeastern was similar to mine at Clarkson, where he got to Northeastern and the program was in a good spot there. They had just had a pretty good season. They had some players coming back from that season, and Rich was very good about the human relationship piece,
Mm.
getting the players to buy into how he transitioned, like he just didn't came in and it's like my way or the highway. I'm the boss now. It's like let's do this together, and that togetherness piece and to be able to see like how he kind of went about that
Different type of leadership,
was
yeah.
super helpful because I hadn't seen that and I hadn't experienced that by working with the previous three guys that had been at their schools
So
for so
long,
long.
yeah,
So
so different.
it was such a fresh perspective in that sense that and that again was a year stint as well. And the opportunity to go to Clarkson, become a head coach came about and at that point after that experience at Northeastern, I felt like I was ready to take on a head coach role
To
at
be
a
the main guy in charge
to
now.
be in charge and have my name on the line, I guess. And my experience at Clarkson was really good. It was very good to be able to kind of pull all together from Susquehanna to Bucknell to Rochester to Northeastern into my own style, and
Philosophy,
how
everything.
I wanted to do things. And um, I walked into like a pretty good situation as far as the group of players that were there, the quality that was there within the group. The previous head coach that had left, he had left everything in a really good spot. He actually, when I left, he came back, which I was super pumped for him, for the program, for the players. It all kind of worked out really well for Clarkson men's soccer as a whole.
So what do you mean so you become the head coach and then when you move on to another job that he becomes the head coach again?
Yeah. So I did
Oh, wow.
2 years. So when I went to from Northeastern to Clarkson, the head coach at Clarkson, Carter Lincoln, um, he had gone to Syracuse to become the assistant at Syracuse after they had won the national championship. So like what a great opportunity for him at the time. And then I came in, I did 2 years at Clarkson. The opportunity to come to Holy Cross, where I am now, came about. Um, it was one that was really tough to pass on for me for many, many reasons. And at the time, it just worked out that Carter wanted to move back to the area, to be closer to his family. And it was just like the stars kind of aligned as far as
All happens for a reason.
that goes. But it was, I mean, my time at Clarkson was really good, from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint. Um, from a professional standpoint, again, the opportunity to be the head coach for the first time, to learn a lot about myself and who I wanted to be as a head coach. And felt like I had learned a lot from a lot of really, really good coaches, previously, to be able to kind of put it all together.
Form your own, yeah.
Yeah, and again, walked into a good situation as well. From a personal standpoint, it was great. My partner Sarah was able to, who I met in Rochester. So we were together in Rochester. Then when I went to Northeastern, we were apart a little bit. Um, and then when I moved to Clarkson, she came up to Potsdam with me, which was
That makes everything
very brave
easier.
of her. Uh, but yeah, like that opportunity at Clarkson was really special, and it was tough to, from like an emotional standpoint, and going back to like it would have probably been more comfortable to stay there, um, once the opportunity to come to Holy Cross came about. But it was a challenge that I was excited to take on from a continuous learning standpoint and growing as a coach and as a person. Um, but yeah, I mean, I joke with my friends. I'm like the Mourinho of college soccer. And not comparing myself to Mourinho by any means, but I do short but intense stints, um, and not and all of my stops have been like super great, like still have really good relationships with all the guys that I've coached for and with, and um it's just a matter of like that's how it's shaped up. Opportunities
How it
have come
happened.
about, and there's been so much growth in each stop, that I think that's the way that it's been, and the way that my path as a college coach has been shaped, allowed me to grow so much quicker, than if I had just maybe stayed at one
Well,
place
yes,
for
because
longer.
going back to what you said before is not being in the comfort zone. You are willing to step out of the comfort zone to grow, to go to new places, to new challenges, to meet new people, to, just look at what you're doing right now. And I want to get into that a little bit more, but you go from being a head coach to now being again an assistant coach because you want to grow, you want to evolve, you want to get better. So obviously, you have a growth mindset. You want to become a better person, a better coach, a better overall human being because that's what you said. It ignites your passion to give to your players. So players, I feel like they feed off of our energy a whole lot, and as coaches, we're shaping them. So they look up to what you do, not only as a coach, but what kind of man you are, what kind of values do you have, what kind of things you say, but most importantly, what kind of things you do. And to me is, are you who you say you are? Really? Or some people say they want to do things, but when it comes down to it, when the difficulty comes, it's like, oh, well, that's not really what I meant. It's like, well, my personal opinion, and this is me, Thales, talking, is the most important promise that you have to keep is the one that you make for yourself, especially when the going gets tough, when you want to grow, you want to evolve, you want to get better. So you going to now to Holy Cross, to where you are, what was the main thing that came into consideration when you go from, you could have stayed, you could have been a head coach, but no, I'm still willing to grow, to learn, so I can't pass on this opportunity because I feel like this is what I need and my path. This is what it's, like my calling is, like what's in front of me is telling me, hey, you gotta go. So walk us through how does that happen? What kind of inner dialogue is going on in your mind? Like, oh, I gotta go. I can't pass this on.
Yeah, it was a thought process for sure. First of all, Coach Matt Brown and myself, we had worked previously together at Bucknell. We were together there for 2 years, so there was a previous relationship. So when the opportunity kind of opened up here at Holy Cross, he gave me a call and sort of presented the role as well as the project. He's been here for, he's gonna have his one year anniversary of Holy Cross in August as well. So we have a pretty new staff, and we're very excited about what we're trying to build. This is a really special place from an institution standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from the support that we have as a staff, the support that our student athletes have, both on and off the field. So, I think that was something that for me was really attractive. So, first of all, be able to work with someone that I respect a lot, to be able to work with someone that I had a very good previous relationship with, and know of his values, and know of the way that he does things, as well as to be able to put a stamp and to be able to make a difference in such an exciting project. Um, I think
And
that
does
was like
that
from a
excite you
professional.
a whole lot to be able to now, even though you are the assistant, but because you and him are coming into a new program to really have your imprint on just like what you learned from the guys that had been there for 20, 30 years. So do you feel like now it's all coming together for what you are able to bring to the table as well?
Yeah, for sure. And the spring was really, really fun, in that we got to sit down and talk so much about, our vision and how we want to go about achieving the things that we want to achieve here, both in terms of the culture as well as the style of play and how we're going to impose ourselves in games, and then we got to see the guys actually do it in games in the spring. So that was exciting and um, rewarding as well. So we're kind of pretty, I guess, cautiously optimistic about this coming fall. But we're pretty energized as a program with a fresh staff, with an exciting group of players coming in. So I think that was kind of the main driver of my decision was, I really enjoyed the place that I'm at Clarkson. I think we're taking really positive steps as a program. Um, but this is a project at Holy Cross that I think I would be even more excited about. I would have even more opportunities to work on the project, kind of leave my uh, stamp on it, as well as grow and develop while doing that. Um, in a place, I mean, from a personal side of things, the city of Worcester is a pretty cool place. So that's kind of like the cherry on top. Um, like you said, you said about the coaching piece about how athletes can kind of sense your energy, and that's something I think, especially in the more recent years in my career, I've kind of been able to. It's something I actually have to work on a lot, but like the balance piece of life, right? Like when you're a coach, it's not just a job, it's also like your image as a person. It's like if you're a coach 24/7, and to be able to kind of also have a personal life and take care of yourself from a physical health standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, from an emotional health standpoint is also really important, so that when you get to be here in the office or on the field, like you can actually be the best version of yourself. Um, especially as I'm getting older and getting more aches and pains. You start to get older and softer. You say, you start to think about
Oh, I
more
don't know what you're talking about.
more more of that stuff.
That's amazing. That is really, really cool. I'm so, so happy and pumped for you, and I can't wait to see what is coming up. So, Augusto, what I wanted to talk to you next is something that you said about the mental health and taking care of yourself and being your best version, obviously on the field, but off the field as well, balancing, the relationship you have a partner, you don't have kids yet. So what do you do to stay active, to be a good person, to take care of yourself, to be able to make balanced decisions? And when you go out on the field, you feel like, okay, I'm giving my all, I'm giving my best. Do you work out? Do you meditate? Do you journal? Is there any techniques? Is there anything that you can tell us, you can tell other coaches, you can tell some of the parents here watching us as well? And I know from my point of view, my daily practice, and that's what I really call it, it's a practice that keeps you centered, it keeps you grounded. So what does a Division 1 college coach What does that guy have to do to stay sane?
Yeah, I think honestly, again, like I think that's the aspect of like my life as a whole that I've sort of reflected on the most in the last 2 to 3 years. Um, in the sense that, it is really important for you to take care of yourself if you're gonna be the best coach that you can be. I think in my earlier years, it was always about like the coach and just that and like put everything aside and that's not to say like I don't sacrifice a lot still to do what I do from a time standpoint and a distance from my mom, my dad, my siblings, like who are all still in Brazil. And there isn't such thing as like coaching at the college level the way that it is here in the US and Brazil. So if I were to live at home, even though it would be great to be close to them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do and love
Yeah.
professionally. Um, but I think I've thought a lot about my habits recently. I actually had like a little bit of a humbling experience recently as well, in that I had a bit of a back problem, and that was sort of like the I was like pretty lucky in terms of my playing career. When you play, you always have kind of issues here and there, but I didn't have anything major. But I had like a bit of a back issue recently that was like, okay, I need to start to take more care of myself. So, um, the working out is something that I try to do at least a handful of times a week, and it's for me like a combination of both taking care of my body and my energy, as well as the mental. Like for me, like the physical and mental piece are so kind of connected,
Yeah.
um in that you kind of kill two birds with one stone, and for me like staying active. um I mean, the support that I have, like on the personal side of things, from my partner Sarah, who moved to Potsdam with me, then was on board to move to Worcester, and that was a massive part of my decision process as well. Was that conversation that we had to say, hey, do we want to kind of get our life here in Potsdam and move it somewhere else?
Thank you, Sarah.
uh, but the support that I get at home, in season, it's busy. Off now in the summer, like there's periods and weeks that are super busy, there's weeks that are more chill. So we kind of try to, just like on the field, giving our
Right.
best, whatever our best is on that day, we try to do that at home too. Sometimes my best is just washing the dishes. Sometimes I can do a lot more, but we kind of help
Take
each
on a
other.
day, plan a vacation.
Right, yeah. And then just doing things and finding things that you love to do and that give you some type of fulfillment outside of soccer itself. Whether it's reading, going on a hike, going to the beach. Um, and that's something that like I'm excited about and have been excited about being here in Worcester, Massachusetts, is that there's so many opportunities to do so many different types of things, that I think will help me tremendously with that life piece and being able to be more centered, more balanced as a human being, so that I can be a better coach.
Amazing, amazing. Augusto, what advice would you give to both, if you can, if you want to, if you have to divide into two different categories, please. But what advice would you give to parents and players that want to play college soccer? What is one myth? What is one thing that most people get wrong? Is such as, for example, oh, my son or my daughter, they're good players, so they're for sure they're going to have opportunities. They're going to get a full scholarship. They're going to have a full ride. They're going to play D1. It doesn't matter about the grades, or is there any particular thing that you can talk about? And I know we could go on hundreds of them, but is there one particular thing that you can talk to us about to the player point of view and to the parent point of view? If you want to play at the next level, this is the path that you should be taking.
I think my main advice is what I said earlier, like the focus on the fit is so important. And sometimes people kind of lose sight of what the fit really is for them because and it's easy nowadays because you go to, Instagram and you see all these different types of programs that look super shiny and great. Um, but how are you gonna feel if you're there living that life, right? And the reality is that there are so many schools out there. There are so many different types of experiences out there that focus on, as a player, as a family, focus on you. Like, what do you want? What do you want your experience to be like? What are the most important things for you, right? If we were joking earlier, you said, oh, you've been in some pretty cold places. How do you do it? Like if that was like the most important thing in my life, I probably wouldn't have survived in New York and Massachusetts, right? But if that's, if location is important, then focus on location. If style of play is important, then focus on style of play. And the reality is that it takes time to figure out that fit, right? It's just not a quick search online. You actually have to go to campus. You gotta, there's that gut feeling element of like coming to a campus and being able to see, ooh, I can see myself here. Ooh, this
Mhm.
this is this feels nice, or I'm not so sure. um to like talking to people that understand the different type of places that you're looking at. um, and most importantly, in the beginning of the search, being realistic with yourself and expectations in all
Mhm.
in all different types of perspectives, right? If you are a student and you have a 2.5 GPA, you probably can't get into Harvard. If you are not at the soccer level to play in the ACC, you're probably not going to play for Duke, right? If you can only afford X as a family, then you can't go to a school that costs Y, right? So
Mhm.
like finding that realistic kind of window from a soccer standpoint, from an academic standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a location, life, size of school, there's so many categories that you kind of need to look at. And what I say to the guys that we kind of reach out to and get in touch with is that the most exciting thing about the recruiting process is that you actually get to learn a lot about yourself as well.
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
get to learn a lot about what you want from this next like major time in your life. Like
And you
so
have no idea yet what's about to
right. And it's
come.
like and I don't say this to like put any pressure on anyone because that can sound scary, but these are pretty important years, right? And the ultimate goal should always be to find a place if you're going for a 4-year institution. If that's the pathway, you should go and try to find the place that you're going to be at for 4 years, not go somewhere else that looks great from the outside to then just move on to another place, right? So that's why I think that fit piece is so important. um that's kind of my main advice, while like on the soccer side of things, the game's evolved so much. The competitiveness at the college level. I think about like when I played college soccer, the level was good, but I think the level is so much better now,
Yeah. Yeah.
because soccer is developed in the US on a very steep level in the last 10 years or so. I think there are more pathways for people outside of the US to come to the US and play at at the college level, um, which means less opportunities for everybody, because this is pretty special kind of level and special opportunity when you think about, again, going back to like the main reason that brought me to the US, the ability to combine soccer and
Yeah,
academics.
absolutely.
Um, like you have to really maximize yourself to be able to be in the best soccer environment that you can possibly be at, if that's what you really want. Um, and then the last piece is like, I guess that I would say is that playing college soccer is not as glamorous as it looks. Like the guy everywhere, whether you're playing for the national champion or a team that's not winning a lot of games, there's time commitment, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears
You're
that
a
go
student
into
athlete.
being a student athlete, right? Like our guys here at Holy Cross in the spring, they're waking up earlier than regular students to lift, to train. A lot of their weekends are spent traveling to go play a game where if you're just a regular college student, then you have
You
more
get to
time.
chill.
Yeah. So like if you really want this, if this is something that you're truly passionate about and you're willing to put in that work, it can be a blast and it can be the best 4 years of your life. Just like if you don't, it's probably not going to be the best 4 years of your life if you're trying to force this experience upon yourself just because all of your friends are playing college soccer and
Cool.
it's cool and it's, I think that, and it goes, I think, back to like the society and the immediate satisfaction. It's like nowadays the first thing that kids do when they commit somewhere else is like post it on the gram. You post it on Instagram, you let everyone know where you're going and that you've made it, right? When in our reality it's like in terms of that pathway, your college career is just starting. There's a lot more
You didn't even take the
work,
first step yet.
right? So, and I think like for us as college coaches, like that's the thing that we try to dive in the most. Once if you and I sit on a soccer field, like we can probably spot the same couple of players as like the best players on that field. But if we were to kind of have a conversation about, who's going to be the best player in 5 to 7 years from now, we would probably like be totally off as far as who we
Mhm.
would point at. Um, because
Very
there's so
true.
much more to growth and to development than just like the attributes that you currently have. The mental piece is so important. That, as a recruiter, you have to get to know the guys that you're bringing into your program really well as far as that goes. So, um, I guess that was a lot. Maybe is that enough?
That's more than enough. No, you guys
I
heard
kind
it.
of feel like I went on a tangent here, but
No, but that's exactly what I want because I want people to understand that it's not a matter of just, oh, it's going to be wonderful and I'm going to show up as a freshman and I'm going to play. Guys, there are people there at least 4 years older than you, with a lot more experience, with a lot more baggage, that have been part of the program, that have a lot of game experience, that they know how to win games. They know how the college soccer, the specificity of the sport is. Just as simple as the substitution rule, as
right.
simple as like we can go into a little more depth about it, but people think, oh, it's just going to be wonderful, and oh, at D1, like you say, I make the announcement and oh man, I made it, but they don't know what's about to come. It's not wonderful. As part of my mentorship program, I work with some professional players, and quite a few tell me all the time, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. I didn't know I was going to travel so much, be so much time alone in a hotel room with all my friends, my family doing things. And here I am stuck. I played the match. That's wonderful. But the match is only 90 minutes. The rest of the time, the preparation, the traveling, the in between, and like all the other things that lead up to the match, that's 90% of the time. So the 10%, what you were saying as a coach, as a player, the soccer piece is the least that you do. So you have to understand how the whole process works. And it's exactly like watching a highlight video. Is what you see. It's a little like it's just a little pixel. You don't see the whole picture. The whole picture is a lot bigger than just those 90 minutes. And if we want to really get down, maybe you don't even play the 90 minutes. If you're playing college soccer, you can get subbed at any time. So I absolutely love what you said. And if you want to compliment with anything else, please feel free because you have experience as a recruiter as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I love this is not my my own phrase, but I love the phrase like embracing the suck. Like, and
It's
that's a real part of like being a college athlete. I think in most places nowadays, especially at a place like Holy Cross, you have so much support around you, um, both in terms of the academic piece, in terms of the athletic piece. But if what you're going through in your life is not challenging you in any way, and if it is challenging, it's hard, but that means that that's an opportunity for growth, right? So I think that's the positive side of it. Um, but from the outside, I think a lot of people think it's cool, right? It's glamorous when yeah, it's really cool, like playing a game and winning a game, and
part of it.
but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. So, but no, I think like again, can't emphasize the fit piece enough, and exposing yourself to places by, once you've identified a couple, I like the one thing I really recommend to everybody is, once you've identified a couple of top schools, go to the school, whether it's for a visit on your own or for an ID clinic. Um, like you can learn so much about that school's fit, um, by being there in person,
And
especially if you can.
you can feel the vibe, you can feel the atmosphere.
Right.
Like you said, do I see myself here?
Um, but yeah.
Love it. Love it. Augusto, I have my last final question for you, and it's one that I ask everyone, and I share a little bit of my personal story with that. So I started the 1% Club. That means the daily improvement, getting better by 1% every day during the hardest moment of my life. And the reason why I remember the day so vividly, it was a day before I turned 40 years old. So it was December 9th, going into December 10th, 2019. And it was very hard to see light at the end of the tunnel. It was one of those turning moments that I made a promise to myself that I was never going to be the same person again, that I was going to commit to become my best version and really unlocking my full potential and finding out what I was capable of doing. And it's been a long journey, it's been a long process, but it's also been the most rewarding time of my life in terms of turning what was the worst day of my life into becoming the very beginning of something completely different that I had no idea I could even accomplish and do. So, in your personal life, was there ever a moment, personal, professional life in general, Was there ever a moment that you were like, man, this is tough. I don't know if this is the right path. I don't know if I can continue going where the self-doubt creeps in and the self-confidence really is not at this highest point where you go like, oh my gosh, I'm nearly at the point that I'm gonna quit. But then you find that inner strength and you continue going, and that's what happened to me. And the reason why I have the 1% club is during the hardest moment, during your hardest time, the worst day, can you still do 1%? And even if it's not 1%, 0.0001, but it's that little step that takes you, that it's the action that makes you move so you don't feel like you're stuck anymore, even though it's a tiny little step, but you do something. Was there ever a moment in your life that you can recall that you had to find that inner strength that you didn't even know you had?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I mentioned it to you, like my period from between like college to in between graduating college and getting into coaching was one that there was a lot of uncertainty as far as, what am I gonna do with my life? What am I gonna kind of pursue a career in? Um, like I said, I majored in business in college. There's so much you can do with the business degree. At the end of the day, my main fear was that I was gonna be stuck in a job that felt like a job. And the moment I realized in that preseason at Susquehanna that, this is what I'm truly passionate about. Like, it is easy to wake up, to go to work, to do what I do because I love it so much. I think that was kind of something that I was looking for and never knew I was going to find it in coaching at the college level. Um, and those moments, I mean, from the moment I graduated to the year I had in California, even like it was tough because, like I said, I sacrifice a lot on the personal side of things, living in a different country, far away from my immediate family. And I thought I wanted to stay in the US at that time, but it was a period in which I thought about going back as well to Brazil because there wasn't
Mhm.
anything that kind of motivated me to stay until again the until I got into what I do now, and that's like, man, like this is what I was looking for all this time, and this is not what I thought was gonna be it, but this is it. So I think coaching at the college level, like I said, has been something that I love. I couldn't see myself doing
Me
anything
neither.
else. It's not a job. It's kind of a lifestyle. At times it takes a toll on the personal life. At times it um, takes a toll on the people that are part of your life as well. Um, but it's just something that, for me, it's really kind of easy to wake up whenever I have to wake up. Sometimes it's pretty early to come to the office, to come to morning training, or to get on the road to recruit. Um, it's easy to do it because it's something that I have a passion um,
It's a purpose bigger than yourself.
for sure.
Love it, love it, love it. Augusto, oh my gosh, man, I can't thank you enough for taking the time for this. And my final words to you specifically, from seeing that guy that was in California at that time, trying to figure life out and to see where you are now. to see your path and to have been witnessing your transformation as a man, as a person, as a coach, as someone that is inspiring and it's leading the next generation. I am very, very proud of you. I am a big, big fan. I admire your work. I admire you as a person, as a man, as a coach, as a leader to what you are doing and how much you are willing to grow, how much you are willing to put in order to become your best version. So I could not be happier for you. I cannot wait to see what you guys do there at Holy Cross. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
No, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate the opportunity here. Hopefully, was able to live up to expectations. I said, there's been some pretty big timers on this podcast, so hopefully people can learn a little bit from listening. But I think it's kind of rewarding to reconnect. We've been in touch here and there, but like to sit down and have a conversation after everything that's happened since we used to hang out in California. I used to watch you coach in our reality. I still remember like watching your Golden State teams. It was like really, for me, it was fun at the time. So maybe that kind of inspired me as well to get into coaching, watching guys like yourself with similar backgrounds. But it's been great to reconnect and have a conversation here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Guys, if you're still here, if you're still watching, we appreciate the time. We appreciate you guys being here and be willing to learn, to grow, to evolve, and to become 1% better. Our objective is to bring you guys people that can help, that can inspire, that can lead us to become better, to win our daily battles against ourselves, against our fears, against our insecurities, the self doubt that we all have. So it's not a matter of not having those, it's a matter of learning who you are, becoming more and more self aware, finding your purpose, finding your calling. You heard from someone that coaches now college at the Division 1 level. He found his calling after he had already started coaching. So find what your purpose is, find your calling, put in that daily step, even if you're not too sure what to do. Continue going, continue to develop, to learn, and to get better. Thank you so much. One more day, one more battle, 1% better.